an expert around when you need advice on what's really going down. Take it from Tara. With so many choices, it ain't easy. Get the bang for your buck, give your dollar a squeezy. The girl's got the answer, you better believe me. Take it from Tara. Take it from Tara. Take it from Tara. Take it from Tara.
Hey, Kathy Weisbach back in the studio in Louisville. This is Tara Bassett live from Owensboro, Kentucky. And I happen to be sitting here in the Owensboro Hospital Business Center with Gordon Wilkinson, who is the Public Relations Specialist. Gordon Wilkinson, thanks so much for helping us get hooked up to your Wi-Fi network, and we're sorry we're running a little bit late getting on the air.
It's great to have you here today, and we're real excited about our new hospital and really happy that you made the trip to Owensboro to be with us today. We're really happy about it. We're going to move patients on June 1. We're just about 3 weeks away from opening day, and couldn't be more excited. It's been about 7 years in the making, planning and building the hospital.
The cool thing about your website, and I want you to give the website, is that you can actually see the hospital being built over a 3-year period in somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes. And it's a pretty cool time-lapse camera.
That's right. If you go to owensborohealth.org, you'll be able to see a time-lapse there, and also CelebrateTheNewHospital.com. Those are two websites we have set up. So CelebrateTheNewHospital.com or owensborohealth.org. You can watch a time-lapse of the construction that actually took place over 3 years in just a matter of minutes. So you can see it from when we started excavating the entire 162 acres until all the finishing touches, which have gone up.
Well, tell us about your relationship with the hospital as an employee. How long have you worked here, and have you been in the old hospital for a period of time? Because now you're getting ready to make a huge transition to the new one.
I've been with Owensboro Health over 12 years. I came here from the Messenger Inquirer after working there for several years. And when I came to Owensboro Health, we were an organization of about 2,400 employees, and over the last 12 years, we have grown to an organization of about 1,000 employees and really become a regional healthcare facility. We've seen the organization grow in a number of areas, and as we started to look into what we need to do to properly serve the 11-county area in the coming years, we decided that just starting with a clean sheet of paper, so to speak, and building a new hospital from the ground up was just the way to go to provide a 21st century hospital to care for the people of Owensboro and the surrounding counties.
Well, you've done a spectacular job, and when you look at this time lapse, it's one of the most fascinating things I've seen, because you literally have acres and acres of dirt property. There's absolutely nothing there. And within about 4 to 5 minutes, you're seeing the entire building as it stands right now, which is just about, 2 to 3 weeks shy of being opened?
That's right. We open on June 1st. Actually, at 6 a.m. on June 1st, the emergency department will open at the new hospital at 1201 Pleasant Valley Road. We'll begin moving patients about that same time and just start a caravan of ambulances to move patients that we expect to take most of the day.
Well, once again, if you go to owensborohealth.org, that's where you're going to see this really incredibly cool time-lapse picture that shows the entire construction of the hospital. And I'm looking at it right now, and I'm absolutely amazed. And I'm actually going to have to bring it back home and put it on another show so you guys can see part of the fun and the excitement. When you watch it being built, you see what a massive project it is. Now, Gordon, I understood from talking to Barbara Taylor, who's the PR representative, I guess she's your boss, right? She said that this is the busiest emergency room in the state.
That's right. We see about 65,000 patients in the Owensboro Health Emergency Department every year. The emergency department serves not only Owensboro but several surrounding counties, as does the rest of our hospital. And people come to us for all sorts of services, urgent care, medical needs, trauma needs. So it's a very busy emergency department. We've got about 36 rooms, and when we move into the new facility on June 1st, we're expanding our emergency department services. We'll actually have 49 rooms, and 14 of those rooms will be what we call chair rooms. So if you come in for with a minor sprain or an earache or something of that nature, we're not going to ask you to get undressed and get in a bed. You can actually go to one of the chair rooms, and we'll be able to take care of your care much more quickly.
The way that you guys have all the rooms set up is absolutely incredible. When you walk into each and every room, literally from the NICU unit all the way up to critical care, it's state-of-the-art. You've got these cool cupboards that you literally put stuff in from one side and the nurse never enters the room. The nurse who's taking care of the patient pulls it out of the other side. I mean, talk to us about some of the very special, high-tech features that you've incorporated into this beautiful new hospital.
Well, the patient rooms are really phenomenal. First of all, they're very spacious. What we have now is a room that's about 235 square feet, and we're moving into rooms that are closer to 400 square feet. We do a really good job of taking care of patients right now, but we are hoping that when the facility opens on June 1 is that we'll not only take a good care of patients, but we're going to take better care of families as well too. So in each room we've got we've got a space for the family. We've got a couch that makes a bed. It's really going to be nice. The views of the grounds are just spectacular. You can see the ponds and the landscaping. And then getting back to something that you answered your questions as far as the care that we can provide in the room, we've got everything the nurse needs practically right in the room. 70% of the supplies that a nurse would need to care for a patient are right at the bedside, and the other things that she needs to care for the patient are just going to be a few steps away. We did a lot of research, looked at a lot of best practices when we were planning the facility, and one of the things we saw was a decentralized nursing station in a lot of modern healthcare facilities. And so what we've got is we've got a little alcove outside each room, so the nurse can go right outside the alcove, right outside the room, do the charting, still be at the patient bedside. So we don't have like a centralized nursing station where all the nurses would gather, go and do their charting, go and do a lot of their paperwork. They're going to be doing all those types of work right at the patient bedside, electronic charting. That's more time with the patient. It's a safer environment for the patient. It just keeps the nurse right where they need to be, right at the patient's side.
I really enjoyed looking at that, too. And part of the reason that I'm down here in Owensboro is I'm part of a commercial crew, and we're formulating a commercial campaign for you guys that's going to be airing on television all over this region of the state. So we're going to be looking at each and every one of the functional parts of the hospital, featuring vignettes or scenarios of actual people who work there, volunteers who work there, family members, showing off the beauty of the way this incredible place is built. Tell us about some of the future plans for this hospital, because I know you're going to be obviously hosting a tremendous number of fantastic events for the community. You already have a community calendar on your website, so you're going to be kind of a hub, I guess, for the whole community of Owensboro.
Okay, well, there's a lot of exciting things that will be happening at the hospital just immediately and then in the years to come. I think immediately what people will notice at the hospital, the care that they will receive, I'll just give an example of adjacencies that are a lot better. A lot of times now in the current hospital, you've got to take a lot of time to transport a patient from one side of the hospital to the other to access a service. For instance, right now, the cath lab is on one side of the facility. The emergency department is on the other side. Surgery is on one side of the facility. The emergency department is on the other side. All of those services that really need to be close together are positioned very well in an interventional platform, we call it, in the new hospital, so that we can get people from one service to another. And that's so important because in a situation, for instance, if we have a patient who has suffered a stroke, minutes count. A heart attack patient, minutes count. It can make the difference in an outcome. It can make a difference in literally life or death for some people. And so that's one thing I think we're going to really look forward to immediately are these adjacencies and things that we can provide better care. And then secondly, I think something we can look forward to in the future is that this facility is, like we've talked about, it's just phenomenal. It's spectacular. It's already enhanced our physician recruitment efforts. We have 15 physicians that have told us they're coming to work for us between June and December of this year. That's just phenomenal. So we're going to have a lot more physicians coming on board, and it's just attractive to folks coming right out of medical school or other clinicians that want to find a 21st century hospital to practice in.
Well, that was one of the questions that I had for you, was the number of new physicians that were coming in, because you've already grown your medical staff about 30% just in the last 15 or so years. And nursing is just a huge bust, literally boom and bust kind of thing. Some years you can't get enough nurses. Some years there's so many nurses that you don't know what to do with them. You guys are fully staffed, and you're absolutely collaborating with the U of L School of Nursing, which is going to provide a lot of folks with Bachelor of Science in Nursing training candidates.
That's right. U of L has been here since 2008, and they're doing an excellent job. The program is full, and I believe they're graduating between 30 and 40 nurses in that program every year. So those are baccalaureate-educated nurses, four-year degree nurses, and which we're really trying to increase the number of four-year degree nurses that we have, because research shows that the baccalaureate-educated nurse has better critical thinking skills, and again, that's just another way we can improve patient care, is by attracting the best and the brightest.
Why do people talk about this new hospital sinking? I'm dying to hear the story behind this, because obviously it's been built on an enormous floodplain, but it's way above sea level, so you don't have anything to worry about. The question is the hospital sinking? The answer is obviously no. Let's dispel that rumor.
Okay, well, that's, I'm not a construction expert, but the construction people tell me that there are like 10,000 ply-ons undergirding the hospital, which I think that's a fancy word for reinforcements, a steel or concrete reinforcement. So virtually, I mean, the soil that the hospital is sitting on is the same soil that you would find anywhere in western Kentucky. So it's very stable. And in fact, if you go through the hospital, you'll see that it's actually, we have just less than like you said, less than a 1% chance of this occurring in any year, of a flood occurring or anything of that nature. But if you go through the hospital, you'll see we've planned for that. There are expansion joints. There are plans to, so the building will contract and move with the earth naturally. There's just really, the building is built to just the highest level of specifications.
Okay, tell me why the location was chosen, because it seems, from the perspective of someone in Owensboro, that the hospital is built far from downtown. If you live in a bigger city like Louisville or Paducah, it's really just a stone's throw, or a really good, maybe 3-iron from the downtown. Every place in Owensboro only takes about 5 to 10 minutes to get to. So why is the perception that it's built so far from the downtown area?
I think that's a very good question, and I would answer that as saying, we've really grown to be a regional hospital, and so we're serving 11 counties. So when you look at the proximity of the hospital to the 11-county area, it's actually, I think, better positioned than where we were downtown. It's right off of the US 60 bypass, which can be accessed easily by neighboring counties or by an ambulance service much more quickly in the event of an emergency. So, and another reason we chose that site is future growth, too. We're really kind of landlocked where we are right now. We're bordered by one-way streets. There was really nowhere to go in Owensboro. So it was just great to be able to go out to the edge of town off Pleasant Valley Road and to a 162-acre campus and just start from the ground up, so we can not only have this 21st century hospital now, but as the need arises, we'll need to expand in the coming years. The facility we have now, or that's opening June 1, is 9 stories. We can actually put 3 more stories on that building. We have a lot more land out there. We can build more buildings out there if we need to add more services. So the potential for growth is just tremendous in that location.
Well, and you also have the US 60 bypass extension, which is being completed, and that's going to make access completely simple. You're also going to have really nice things like undercover canopies for drives right at every entrance. You're going to be able to drop people off without getting them wet. That's going to be really nice if they're coming in to deliver a baby, or if they've got somebody who needs to go into surgery or something. You're going to have a lot of security at all of the doors. And from a former meteorologist standpoint, this is important. The facility is really safe. You've really built it to withstand all kinds of weather, including tornadoes and earthquakes. Talk to us a little bit about those safety features, Gordon.
Well, it's like you just mentioned, the building is built to withstand high winds and earthquakes, and it's several buildings actually put together. So you would see those expansion joints that I mentioned earlier. You can actually see those actually from outside if you know where to look. But so the building is built to very high specifications, and you can imagine building a healthcare facility. We are bound by several code. I mean, even building just a regular building, there are all types of codes you have to abide by. And in healthcare, the codes are even more strict. And so we have a number of facilities that accredit us, and we'll continue to survey the hospital and see that we're at the high specifications we need.
Fantastic. Now, talk to us, too, just a little bit. You're doing such a great job, Gordon. You've got this wonderful flip chart, and you can go through it like you're touring people through the entire building. And I want to talk to you about what that whole lobby entrance is all about, because that's going to set up the frame of reference for our next guests. And we're very excited to have Mary Carruthers, who is the artist who created the beautiful and incredibly moving piece of art that is hanging in the entryway of this brand new and beautiful hospital. It's surrounded by light. The windows are extraordinary. And I would really love to hear you talk about how that atrium was developed and the purpose of it, because it's completely different from the old hospital.
It is, and the purpose of the atrium is really to make a natural entrance for people to not only feel comfortable, but find their way around easily. Because when you go into a hospital, a lot of people don't go to the hospital every day. I mean, unless you work in the hospital. So it's really important that people be able to find their way around easily. And so if you come into the front door of the new hospital, you'll see a bank of elevators, and all the elevators go to all the floors. In the current hospital, we've got elevators that go to different floors, and you might come in and say, go down the hall and turn right and then turn left and get on this elevator and go to the third floor. And we've corrected all that with this new facility. All the elevators go to all the patient floors. Each floor is essentially designed the same. So when you get off the elevator, you turn to the left, you go down to the patient hallways, and everything looks the same. So it's going to be so great for visitors. It's also great for the nurses, too. We talked about the patient rooms earlier, but every patient room is exactly the same. So if a nurse moves from one floor to the next, all the supplies are in the same place. In the rooms, she's always doing this work on the same side of the bed. So there's a lot of uniformity and consistency, and that only helps improve patient care. If you go back to the lobby, if you're coming to be admitted as a patient for a planned admission, all of the services you would need to access are together too. So you'd come in and go to the right to go to the visitor elevators. You'd come in and go to the left to the concierge desk, and then right behind that, you would access imaging services, lab services, pre-admission, anything of that nature. So everything is together. We've tried to just really package things and streamline and put everything together on the first floor that you would need to either access services or go see a friend or loved one.
Well, Kathy Weisbeck is in the studio in Louisville. And Kathy, I'm going to ask you if you can look at your Facebook page, because I'm typing you messages on your Facebook page so that we can use as many different pieces of technology as we possibly can to make this broadcast possible. Because I don't have a live chat room, so I'm going to type you little love notes on the Facebook page. And I'm also going to ask you if you possibly could acknowledge our sponsors for this particular show. It's AVC Security, and Linda Harris Hillenbrand is campaigning. Fantastic sponsorship of Taken from Tara, Linda Herrick Hillenbrand, and Jim Hillenbrand, who's actually in a long battle with leukemia, and we appreciate him so much. I got to go out to Susan and Danny Crumb's house the other night for a fundraising night for Linda Herrick Hillenbrand, which was so much fun, and they were gracious enough to host a number of people. So we really, really appreciate all that Linda does for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and I am extremely excited to be a part of the Man and Woman of the Year campaign. So, enough of that business. Back to Owensboro, and I am joined by the lovely and talented Mary Carruthers. We talked a little bit with Gordon Wilkerson, who is one of the PR mavens of the hospital, about the design of the atrium, and the reason that they created this fantastic hospital was to really take advantage of nature. There are windows everywhere in the hospital. Light naturally streams in. It's just kind of the antithesis of every other hospital that you've ever been in. And you, Mary Carruthers, who happens to be at University of Louisville, was selected as the artist to create the opening entry piece. And I'd like you to just start from the beginning and tell me how you got there and how you conceptualized it. And then we are going to share some of the guests that you brought have inspired you in the creation of this art piece. So talk to us a little bit about how it was created. And Kathy actually has pictures that you've sent me. She's going to show them on our Ustream window while we're talking, so that people can actually get a great idea of what we're talking about while we're doing this audio-only interview. Mary Carruthers.
Hello. Well, I was actually nominated anonymously by someone for the competition, and so I stepped up to the plate and put my best foot forward and ended up in the top 5 for the selection. So it was selected, and
I'm prying her cold, dead fingers off the microphone so she can relax and I can hold it for her. Go ahead.
Okay. So it was selected, and I was selected to compete in the competition. And for me, it was very important to gain a sense of place. And so I knew someone who lived in Owensboro who works in our art office named Renee Murphy, and we made a trip to Owensboro. And then I was taken around the site and was very impressed by several things. One thing was that the hospital was on an old farm. And another thing, as long as this is true, at least I was told, was that there was a World War II airplane training hangar on the grounds. And then, of course, I could also see that the Ohio River was floating off in the distance. So the way my imagination works is that I started to think about seeds in flight. And then I was informed that the hospital's research is connected to plant-based pharmaceuticals. And so that kind of sent the idea of seeds and flight and the connection to the ecological system to the hospital all together.
So Kathy's showing some of the pictures that you sent me. This happens to be a picture of a farmer's barn, and it's beautiful with the light. Talk to us a little bit about this particular person and the inspiration you received from him in creating your piece of art.
That farmer is Tony Dant, who happens to be here today, and he is the father of one of my students that I have taught at the University of Louisville named Nathan Dant. And I worked on a film with a filmmaker named Zach Spiger, and we were interested in working with Tony to learn more about particularly farming tobacco in Kentucky and connection to the hospital's new research to find cures actually using the tobacco seed.
That's pretty amazing. And when we're talking about the tobacco seed, you're representing it in a lot of the artwork that you're doing. So this is a picture of Farmer Dant's door. And just before, we saw that beautiful circular piece, and I'm not sure exactly what that was. It looked like a little glass bubble. It looked like something that had Jurassic Park's DNA inside of it, actually. But the next picture that you're showing that we just popped up about 2 seconds ago, which is the seed, is the basis for all of the creation of this beautiful flat. Oh, there you go. There's that circular thing. Tell me a little bit about that orb.
That orb contains a seed from one of the members of the community of Owensboro. So there are hundreds of these floating seeds, and each one of them is individualized and informed by a seed that was brought to me by someone who lives here. And that seed carries either personal, economic, or spiritual significance. And that becomes the individual's hope, wish, or prayer that has been launched into the lobby.
That's pretty neat. Now, as we go past Farmer Dance photo, there is the first indication of what I consider to be like a wish or a seed. So I want to take a look at that, and I want to see what it is that you have developed in the art, because you talked about everything having to do with plant-based agriculture. So, Kathy, if we can advance past the farmer's photo and go to the next picture, which we will be seeing. Go ahead and talk to us about it, Mary.
The floating seed it's in basically captured in acrylic, and then that sphere was connected to a stem and then to what's called fiber optic system, a parachute. So there's light that actually moves through each of the individual pods.
That's the one. There's probably about a 7-second delay here, and that's why it's taking us a while to get to it. But you're doing a great job describing your pieces by memory.
Well, there was a certain amount of repetition as well, being hundreds. But they are individual, and together collectively, for me, they represent a community. So the light moves through them, and the pieces themselves, they follow the path of the Ohio River. So they start on the west side, and they move and travel northward as they go east. And then the light comes down into the pod itself, which you can see more at nighttime, changing the installation throughout the day. As you said, there's a lot of glass panels, so the installation looks one way during the morning, another in the afternoon, and then at night they have the fiber optic system that informs them.
And we lost our little audio connection to you, Kathy, just so you know. I know you can still hear us because my iPhone is still going strong, but we're going to see if Gordon can reconnect to you through his iPhone. This is a multimedia production from Owensboro, and we're using a laptop, Facebook, Crescent Hill Radio's website, the Owensboro Health website, my new iPhone, which is a puzzlement to me, but I'm learning very quickly how to use it, Gordon Wilkerson's iPhone, and a microphone plugged into a really cool little gadget that allows us to talk straight over the iPhone, and apparently the sound is not too bad, which I'm impressed with. We tried to use the iPod Touch, Mary, and we couldn't quite get it to stream because of all of the reinforcement in this building, so it was a really bad signal. But while we're talking, Kathy, go ahead and advance to the next picture, if you will, and Mary's going to talk a little bit about the next portion of it, because there are many of this particular one that you're seeing on the Ustream right now, many of that particular piece of art incorporated in this giant piece of art.
You want me to speak about this?
Yeah. Okay. Or if you're finished talking about it, we'll just hope that Kathy's still hearing us and that we're still actually being heard over the radio. Yep, we are, because I can turn up my laptop and hear it. So, Kathy, if you can go ahead and advance to the next picture. There we go. Look at the hands. I love that. Again, a 7-second delay in case I start swearing.
Well, there's many different things that happened in the community to bring the project together. And so I think the stories that came out of the interactions are really what I hope to preserve within the actual installation. When I collected the seeds, I also collected stories from the people that I met. So they offered their seeds, and then I asked if they would share a story with me about the significance of that seed. I hope in the future that I can make some sort of a book or put something together that preserves that legacy, I guess, or that whole storyline.
And as we advance the picture to the next one, Kathy, we're going to see I think we've got some in here, some actual casts of the hands that we're holding these seeds, and we're getting Kathy back on her cell phone right now so I can actually hear her, but we're going to ask her to go ahead and advance the Ustream slideshow so that we can see the next thing that is coming up. And again, 7 seconds away is probably going to be a part of it, but that's the beauty of doing a technologically complicated show. You just never know what you're going to get, and at 10 after, we were afraid we weren't going to have a signal, and look what we're doing now. Mary, talk to us about this particular cast.
Well, one thing I should say is that I offered to teach casting skills at Owensboro High School and also work with children at the Joe Ford Nature Center as part of my way of reaching out to the community and giving back and making a genuine connection as someone who's slightly on the outside that's coming to make and blur the lines of authorship of public art, making a community-based project. And while I was working at the hospital, a woman named Janet Horn, who is an Owensboro resident, called in and asked if I would be willing to make a cast of a young boy named Lane Goodwin, his hand before he passed away. And I was
Tremendously moved to do that, I'm sure.
Tremendously moved to do that, and set out to meet Lane Goodwin and his mother, and I knew that basically I would be making one cast, and he's infamous for the work that he did to advocate cures for cancer, and most of the community knows him for his thumbs up for Lane. But I also felt that the most poetic thing I could possibly do was cast the hand of Lane and his mother's, and that's what you see there.
Lane and his mother, Ruth, I believe her name was, right? I think it was. I think I saw it, Ruth and Lane. But Mom and Lane, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would like to advance again, and what I'd really love to do is bring Farmer Dan over here, and if you just drag that big old chair, Farmer Dan, roll it for me, big boy. I'd love to talk to you for just a minute about your experience working with this fantastic artist and being a permanent part of the new Owensboro Hospital. What a thrill that must be for you who've obviously farmed this land for a long time.
Yes, I have. It was great. Like I said, my youngest son was one of her students at University of Louisville, and he introduced us, and it's been really great. She's a great lady, and she asked about casting my hands, and I thought, well, that's a good idea, so we did. It was a venture itself, but we managed it.
When we cast his hands, we did that in a barn, and we had to heat the water to a temperature using a propane tank in the winter. So it added some extra challenges, but we got a really nice cast, and Tony Dance, Farmer Dance hands are in the Museum of Science and History here.
Let me see those hands. Those are big hands. I'm going to put my little paw in your big paw. Give me a handshake. It completely encloses my hand, and those are a farmer's hands. There are scars, there are scabs, there are rough marks, there are cuts, there are bruises. It looks like you probably won the last arm wrestling contest that you went into. Am I right? He's a big man. He's got beautiful hands. They actually remind me a lot of my dad's hands. So I'm glad that you are memorialized in this way. And we can go ahead and advance the slideshow to the next picture if we do. And Kathy, if you will, just tell me over my little earpiece when we run out of pictures, because I honestly can't remember how many that I sent to you. But I want to get our other guest introduced too, Mary. So talk to me a little bit about who your other inspiration is going to be.
This is Joe Overby, and Joe Overby is a teacher, retired teacher, and he was on the art committee that originally was part of the selection for the piece. And as I went along, Joe shared a wonderful story about a apricot seed that he saved from Georgia O'Keeffe's garden. And I found him to be...
Wait a minute. Did you just say Georgia O'Keeffe's garden? Come here. Scoot over here, good looking. I got to get you close and snuggle up to me. Talk to me about that seed that you found from Georgia O'Keeffe's garden.
in 2004, we were there just to visit in Taos and happened to go to George O'Keeffe's house. And the apricots were past prime. And the person who was guiding us around said, you know, if you like apricots, we've taken all we want. Take what you can. So we stuffed our pockets and paper towels and stuff like that with apricots. And I thought, you know, this is from George O'Keeffe's home. I want to take at least a seed home. I think I brought home about 6. And when working on the art committee and I was an art educator when Tony was in school. And
did you teach him?
No. I saw him in the hall.
Has he always been this big of a guy?
Well, no, actually, he was quite a bit smaller. That's hard work.
He scrapes the ceiling of the door frame as he walks through. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So I thought, well, it's appropriate with the interest in art and the art in healthcare that George O'Keeffe be a part of that. And so I talked to Mary about it. We cast the seed. We had some trouble because of the size, but she got it worked out.
Well, it's amazing. And Mary, talk to us a little bit about the representation that we see on Ustream right now. The orbs, again, I don't know why I keep thinking of Jurassic Park, but that's kind of what it reminds me of.
Well, one thing people asked, are you going to add any color? And I saw this piece as actually very reductive, very simple, it being very clear and simply with white light. But this particular group of seeds are annatto seeds, which are used for cooking and also to make things like lipstick. So the color...
Lipstick and cooking.
Yeah, they go well together. But the color that you will see in some of the seeds is either, brought to me that way. Some seeds are now coated. They could be green, they can be purple. And other seeds release a color naturally on their own. And I found this particular set of annatto seeds very elegant because of the orange color that was released into the pod. And I photographed 3 of them at sunrise and 3 of them at sunset, really enjoying the shadows that they cast.
Pretty amazing, and you have to forgive Ustream because they throw out an ad every so often, and we went straight from this beautiful talk about gardens and plants to scenes of war, which is a strange juxtaposition, but, and now we're into the SUVs and four-wheeling, but that's okay. What we want to focus on right now is the fact that we have 2 people here, Joe and Tony, and you said there was one other person that you really wanted to talk about who couldn't be with us tonight, who, as an inspiration to you in the creation of this beautiful piece of art.
It's actually 2 people, Joe and Grace Ford. Back to the beginning when I was searching for information, inspiration, and connections to the landscape, the more I spoke with people, the more that everyone encouraged me, well, if you want to know about the ecology of Owensboro, you need to talk to Joe Ford. And Joe Ford is a naturalist that even Tony Dance's son Nathan, through Boy Scouts, learned about herpetology, learned about snakes, learned about tracking and seeing creatures in the wild, everything from the natural landscape to even Native American history. And so I made a phone call to the home of Joe and Grace Ford, and Grace answered, and I asked if I would be able to meet Joe, and she said, sure, I could. So I made a trip to Owensboro and have met Joe, and he shared with me he has a series of writings that he's kept for years and years, and I purchased every single one of his books and read them all.
That's pretty amazing.
And it connected me to the characters of the community and gave me much more of a sensibility for the place that I was going to be working in. And Grace offered the Joe Ford Nature Center as a place that I could work with some of the children and their parents and others that would come there to do various workshops. So we did all kinds of things. We also cast hands there, and we cast natural plants and so on into jewelry, and we did something called cyanotype printing, which is also known solar printing, where we basically printed, light-sensitive silhouettes of the plant life from around the Nature Center onto cloth.
That's pretty amazing when you stop to think about it. And we've been looking at all of the different photos that you have submitted to us, and you can see a whole bunch more on your Facebook page because you put all kinds of cool stuff on your Facebook page. Talk to us a little bit about what you do at University of Louisville, and if we're interested in, like Tony's kid wanted to be educated by the best, how can we get into some of your classes?
Well, at the University of Louisville, interestingly enough, I was hired as a photography professor, but I have worked three-dimensionally and maybe even four-dimensionally outside of the box in many ways for quite some time. I think my students know me as getting them out of the classroom and into the community, whether we work with children at children's homes or we work at the Center for Women and Families, various locations. I've turned a truck into a pinhole camera, and we'll make images down by the waterfront. I guess you could call me a community-engaged, outside-of-the-box art teacher.
I like that. What do you think your son learned that he's going to remember the most from this particular professor? Not necessarily a technique, but what life lesson do you think Mary Carruthers taught your son, Tony?
Appreciate everything in life, because everything has a purpose and everything has its own different character. It depends on the individual how you want to take that character and how you want to mold it. And he does a wonderful job with a lot of things. He can take something simple and make it beautiful, and he says Mary taught him how to do that.
That's fantastic. So what is your son doing now, and where is he located?
He lives in Chicago, him and his wife and two boys. And
you're a grandfather?
Oh, yeah.
He's so youthful looking.
6 grandchildren.
Wow.
And he works for a company called Expedex, and he has his own photography company. He does weddings right now. He says he does about 2 or 3 a month.
That's pretty amazing. So he's doing well.
He just did one on Owensboro weekend before last, a friend of his. So he's doing fine. He said he enjoys the photography, and his wife is also an art major, so they work together. She was more into painting, but she's also got a photography background, so him and her do the weddings together. So it works out good.
Very cool. And what other things would you like to share with us, Mr. Overby, before we go? Because you have a long and storied history in this community.
Well, I think one of the things that the hospital planning committee was interested in was getting as many people as involved as possible. We did focus groups, we did patient experience things, and there were community members that were part of that as well as staff. And the thing that Mary brought to us, Mary has a passion about getting to know people, developing something that is personal to that community and personal to the people that get involved. And so she was a real asset to us. We've tried to adopt her, but she won't move down here. But one of the things when you talk to Mary is she is yours. You can talk as long as you want to, and she's got all ears for it. And she's got a compassion for hearing the story. And
translating it into art.
Right. And she heard many stories while she was here.
Well, and I think, too, that when you walk into the hospital, and you guys, I'm assuming, Tony and Joe and Gordon, of course, have all been in there and seen what it looks like standing. Have you seen it already? Yes, they have. Okay, Tony, you've got to go in and see it, because when you walk in, you feel like you're in some sort of a fairyland. And I want to know what you wanted to create. What was the image that you wanted to give to people as they made their entry into that atrium, Mary?
Well, I wanted it to feel like you were engulfed experientially in the environment of a dandelion that had been wished or blown off.
See, there's that word wish, because that's exactly what I used to. We used to pick them when we were kids. You guys remember? You'd pick up the dandelion and you'd go, and off it would fly, and then you'd make a wish.
Yes, and so, that I think was part of the hope that I hoped that anyone who walked into the lobby could essentially feel intuitively that it was to be light and that it was not to be overbearing, but at the same time have presence and to pull the viewer's eye upward. So,
which it does beautifully.
yeah, so it sort of moves you through the piece. And one thing that I was hoping, and I think that I have succeeded in, is that it changes from the point of view that you are standing in. So if you're underneath of it, you feel or sense that there are hundreds of these pieces. If you're on the second floor and you stand toward the corner, they unify into a line that you can actually see that line of the Ohio River. And it becomes a little bit more of an optical illusion that you might feel like maybe there's 100, when really if you're underneath of it, you'll get the sense that there are hundreds, that there are multitudes of them.
You definitely get that feeling. And Kathy, I love the fact that you got the hospital photo up. If we've got some more of those, go ahead and advance through them, because the variations in the sides of the hospital, every viewpoint is slightly different. Every elevation is slightly different. And I love the fact that there are so many windows, Gordon, that really allow the natural light, and it downplays that hospital-esque fluorescent thing that we always have lived with in our years of visiting hospitals.
Yeah, the natural light is really conducive to the healing process, too. For instance, in the neonatal intensive care unit right now, the babies don't have any sense of night or day, and so I'm not a parent, but I understand if you're a parent, you really want your baby to have a sense of night or day, because you don't want the baby sleeping all day and then awake all night. And so just the natural light in those neonatal rooms helps the baby get that night-day rhythm. So that's one example. Another example is just, it just brings in just that natural, beautiful sunlight that God created for this earth. I mean, everything grows with sun. We know that we get vitamin D from sunlight. I mean, there's just a world of benefits. I mean, on a sunny day, you feel better. And so anything we can do to bring the environment, the outside in, it's just another way to make the just a beautiful view of this facility.
Yeah, and I love the fact that everything is very clear. There is a tremendous amount of glass involved in the construction of this hospital, not only in windows but internally as well. And then there's a lot of kind of, what would you call it, a colored glass that's involved too, that creates barriers, but you really get the feeling that it's very clear and very open as a result of the use of the glass.
It does, and that's just part of what we wanted the whole environment of the hospital to be relaxing, just conducive, like I said before, to healing, and so not to have that sterile atmosphere that maybe healthcare facilities have had in the past decades, but just one that has just a modern look, a modern feel, one that there's a lot of outdoor areas to relax into. There's an outdoor dining area. There's courtyards. In the mother-baby unit, there's a special courtyard that all of the women can see from their rooms, but the glass is fixed as such to where you can't see in, so it keeps privacy for the patient. So it's just, the whole facility is like that. It's just, we started planting trees actually 2 or 3 years ago, so they would be mature now.
Well, and I love the fact that what you just said about the garden. I've actually seen that roof garden where moms and babies are going to be at. There's a whole lot of feng shui involved in the creation of this hospital, and I'm kind of interested, and Joe Overby is nodding his head, I'm wondering if someone came in, besides the architects, like if you had some monks from Tibet or something, who came in and said,
that helps cut down on the noise and the clutter of noise in the environment, so it just makes for a more healing, just serene environment for the patient.
Yeah, and Joe, go ahead. You want to say something, Joe Overby?
Yes, actually the curved hallways make it more intimate because you can't see very far. You seem to be a more important part of the whole than if you were a long straight hallway that goes on and on forever. And when we talk to patients and family members, previous patients and family members, about what was important to them in the healing process, light, being
absolutely,
and water, seeing landscape, growing things, and so everything that went into this hospital puts a patient in a window space unless they're being operated on. If there's procedure going on, they're in a closed area. But for most of their time in the hospital, they're in an area that's got light.
Well, and there's already a lot of planting done, Gordon, and I love the fact that you already put mature trees into the ground around the space where the hospital is built, because I know it was completely barren, and you went ahead and did some advanced planting. So there now is green space, there are trees, there are retention ponds. It actually appears to be a very well-established area around what currently 3 years ago was nothing but dirt.
That's right, and something else we haven't talked about either is we have a 1.4-mile walking trail around the perimeter of the facility. It's going to be open from daylight until dusk starting June 1 when we move into the new hospital. So people from the community can come out and enjoy the grounds. You can walk or just take a jog around, and we've actually got 3 fitness stations too, so you can stop and do strength training exercises. And that's just part of our gift to the community and our commitment to health and wellness.
Well, Gordon Wilkerson and guests Tony Band and Joe Overby, thank you both for being with Mary today. Gordon, thank you for taking time to represent the hospital and getting us hooked up on our multiple application, high technology, remote broadcast of Taking from Tara from Owensboro. I want to just give Mary Carruthers, the beautiful artist and teacher at University of Louisville, just the last word that you'd like to leave people with, thinking about this new community hospital that's going to serve so many different communities. I think you said 11 counties around the area. 11 counties. Just tell us about the feeling that you want people to enter with and leave with as they experience your art, Mary.
That they're in good hands. They're with people who care. They're with nurturers. And as far as going into a hospital, it's a beautiful space.
It absolutely is, and that's well spoken. We want to thank our sponsors, ABC Security, Linda and Jim Hillenbrand, for their fight against leukemia, and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is having the Man and Woman of the Year campaign, which is fantastic. Linda Hillenbrand is going to be competing to raise the most money for leukemia and lymphoma in order to become the Woman of the Year. We wish her all the best, and we thank her for not only being a great philanthropist and a great citizen, but also for being a great business owner on the Frankfort Avenue corridor of Louisville and supporting local radio, Crescent Hill Public Radio. You can become a member of Crescent Hill Public Radio right on our Crescent Hill Radio website. Just click the big red heart that says click here to become a CHR member. $25 for the year gives support to the station. We play only local and regional musicians, and that is a huge thing because very few other stations anywhere give 100% attention and time to local and regional musicians, and we love our local and regional musicians, and we are very much grateful to all of them. And usually I have a musical guest this week because of the remote broadcast. We figured it would probably be on the safe side to go straight with information, and next week we will be back with a fantastic show on Take It From Tara Monday night from 5 to 6 p.m. We're going to be talking to the usual array of fantastic guests. We are also going to be including the musical guests, which is what is next Monday, the 20th, you guys? Is it the 20th? I think it is. So a wonderful lady named Janelle is going to be coming in to play for us. My friends from the Chopping Block, Day Spa and Salon, are going to be talking about a fundraiser at Berno's by the bridge for one of the stylists who came down with an extraordinary and rare type of cancer. The incredible and incomparable Ed Lewis is going to be in. Eddie has been an entertainer in town for many years, and he's going to talk to us about his career, his next projects. Courtney Bennett, hospice veterinarian, will be talking to us about how best to care for our animals in their days of transition and in their last days, and how to make it easier on us and on them to live their lives to the fullest and have the most ease with their transition across the Rainbow Bridge. Plus, on the live dog and exciting dog side, Derby City Dog Rescue is going to be in the house with probably the cutest puppy in the world, if I can imagine. And Linda Herrick Hillenbrand will be in to talk about her continuing campaign for Woman of the Year for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. That show is going to be sponsored by the Kentucky Animal Relief Fund, caring for senior animals in their last days and guaranteeing that all animals under their care will be taken care of, loved, fed, walked, exercised, and very much appreciated throughout their lives if they are not adopted. We thank Amy Bach of Amy Bach's Bach Creative Services for sponsorship of Take It From Tara. It's a few minutes after 6, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoy the
And just really excited about the months and years ahead.
And we're excited for you, serving a huge area of town. Thank you, Kathy Weisbach, back in the studio in Louisville. We'll be signing off from Owensboro, and we want to thank Cree and Hetty once again for their magnificent jingle writing skills. This is Tara Bassett. Take it from Tara. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Going on in this town. We're so lucky to have an expert around. But when you need advice on what's really going down, take it from Tara. With so many choices, it ain't easy. Get the bank for your buck, give your dollars